If you're over 50, you've likely been told that colon cancer is just an inevitable risk of aging. A genetic lottery you hope you don't lose. But as a physician who has spent over 20 years in the ER and specialised in metabolic science, I'm here to tell you that the most dangerous myth in modern medicine is that your genes hold the steering wheel. Right now, in the United States, we are seeing a terrifying inversion of medical history. When I was in medical school 2 decades ago, diagnosing a 25-year-old with colon cancer was so rare it would be presented at grand rounds to the entire hospital. Today, it's a daily reality. The incidence of colorectal cancer in people under 50 has skyrocketed by 50% in the last 30 years. This isn't a genetic shift. Human DNA doesn't change that fast. This is an environmental hijacking. What if I told you that stage 4 colon cancer, a diagnosis most people treat as a death sentence, is being reversed to stage 0 in clinical settings? And what if the difference between a patient who achieves total remission and one who doesn't isn't the strength of their chemotherapy, but the specific bacteria living in their gut? Hi, I'm Dr. Brooks. I've spent 2 decades as an investigative clinician, looking for the answers that don't fit into a standard 10-minute consultation. Today, we are going to look at the insider's guide to starving colon cancer cells and rebuilding your defenses from the inside out. We are going to cover the Group 1, danger. Why your morning breakfast might be classified by the World Health Organization in the same category as cigarettes. The 16,000x explosion. The terrifying speed at which a tumor grows once it hijacks your blood supply, and the starvation protocol to stop it. The guardian bacteria. Meet Akkermansia, the microscopic elite soldier in your gut that determines if cancer treatment succeeds or fails. The precise 5-point system. The exact grams of fibre, cups of tea and specific sprouts you need to activate your internal repair crew. To understand why colon cancer is winning, we have to look at the foundation of fire we are building in our bodies. In the ER, I see the end-stage results of chronic inflammation every day. When you consume processed meats, bacon, deli meats or hot dogs, you are introducing Group 1 carcinogens into your system. These compounds, like nitrosamines and heterocyclic amines, don't just pass through. They park in your colon for hours, creating a toxic inflammatory sludge that damages the very lining of your gut. Every 50 grams of processed meat you eat daily, that's just 2 thin slices of deli turkey, increases your colorectal cancer risk by 18%. But the damage isn't just from what we are eating, it's from the immune blackout caused by what we're missing. Your body is a miracle of engineering. Right now, you have approximately 40 trillion cells. As they divide, photocopy errors are inevitable. You likely have microscopic clusters of cancer cells in your body at this very moment. In a healthy body, your security patrol, specialized T cells and natural killer, NK cells, finds these errors and eliminates them quietly. But cancer has a cloaking device. It uses checkpoints to tell your immune system, I belong here, don't attack. Even worse, it has a growth switch called angiogenesis. Think of a tumor like a small rogue village. Without a road system to bring in food and water, the village stays tiny, no bigger than the tip of a ballpoint pen. It's harmless. But cancer cells release a fertilizer protein called VEGF that forces your body to build a private highway of blood vessels directly into the tumor. Once that highway is built, the tumor explodes. It can grow 16,000 times its size in just 14 days. This is where the investigative clinician looks for leverage. If we can't stop the mutation, we can stop the highway. We can starve the village, but to do that, we have to talk about the most revolutionary discovery in oncology in the last decade, one that happened not in a pharmacy, but in the gut microbiome. In 2017, researchers at the Gustave Roussy Cancer Centre in France studied patients receiving immunotherapy. These are drugs that strip away cancer's invisibility cloak. They found something that shook the medical world. The patients who responded to treatment and saw their stage 4 cancer vanish all shared one thing: high levels of a bacteria called Akkermansia mucinifera. The patients who didn't respond? They were missing it. This single bacteria acts as the general that primes your immune system to fight. The question is, how do you draft this general into your army? Most doctors will tell you to eat more fibre, but they won't tell you the precise synergy required to grow a cancer-killing microbiome. Continue, but to understand why that Akkermansia bacteria is so critical, we have to look at the cellular level at how your body interacts with its own plumbing. And this is where the biology gets truly fascinating. We used to believe that only highly patented pharmaceutical drugs could stop a tumour from building its blood vessel highways. I've seen drugs like bevacizumab used in the clinic to block VEGF, that fertilizer protein the tumour uses to call for blood vessels. They are expensive, and they often carry systemic side effects because they affect blood vessel growth everywhere, not just in the tumour. But here is the insider truth that rarely makes it out of the research lab. When scientists test certain food extracts using the exact same pharmaceutical assays used to develop these billion-dollar drugs, they find comparable anti-angiogenic activity. Think of green tea, for example. The specific Carcinogen is so powerful at inhibiting abnormal blood vessel growth that if researchers didn't know it came from a plant, it would have been fast-tracked into human clinical trials immediately. Other foods like tomatoes, cruciferous vegetables, and high-quality olive oil show this same biological intelligence. They don't just slow cancer, they cut off the fuel supply. A randomized controlled trial following 68,000 women over 10 years found that daily green tea drinkers had a 27% lower risk of colorectal cancer. That isn't luck. That is biochemistry in action. But this is the mistake I see 90% of my patients making. They focus only on the anti-cancer foods and ignore the foundation layer. You cannot out-eat a group 1 carcinogen sludge if your colon has an immune blackout. This brings us back to Akkermansia and the great untruth that supplements can replace a whole food diet. The France study showed that Akkermansia determines if stage 4 cancer can be reversed to stage 0. But here is what most people are never told. You can't buy Akkermansia in a pill. It is anaerobic. It dies when exposed to oxygen. You must grow it. I call Akkermansia your guardian bacteria. It lives in the mucus layer lining your intestinal wall. It feeds on the mucus, forcing your cells to constantly produce new, healthy mucus, which strengthens your gut barrier and reduces inflammation. More importantly, its presence primes your elite soldier T cells to attack abnormal cancer cells once they are exposed. But Akkermansia is fragile. A single course of antibiotics can decimate its population for weeks or months. So, how do you rebuild this general? You need the synergy protocol. You must feed it specific prebiotics, not just fibre, but compounds that act as target fuel. This leads to the precise 5-point system. When I work with patients at high risk for colon cancer, I don't give them vague advice. I give them an actionable protocol with exact numbers and timings because consistency is what creates sustained biological leverage. The core of this system is dietary fibre. This is non-negotiable. Fibre isn't just roughage. It is the currency your gut microbiome uses to purchase health. Fibre feeds beneficial bacteria, reduces inflammation, and drastically speeds up transit time, meaning those carcinogenic nitrosamines spend hours less time in contact with your colon lining. But most Americans are in a chronic fibre deficit, consuming less than 15 grams a day. We need to aim for a minimum of 25 to 38 grams. To do that, you need high-density sources. I've looked at the data on melanoma patients receiving immunotherapy. For every 5 grams of fibre they added daily, the amount in one medium pair, their risk of mortality decreased by 30%. In my 20 years in medicine, I have rarely seen a dietary statistic that powerful. You must look at what is missing from your plate. Continue. When I work with patients at high risk for colon cancer, I don't give them vague advice like eat more fibre. I give them a precision system. After 20 years in medicine, I know that if a protocol isn't specific, it doesn't get followed. We need to aim for a minimum of 25 to 38 grams of dietary fibre daily. To hit that target, you need high-density sources, not just a side salad. The foundation of the Brooks protocol is beans and legumes. Black beans, chickpeas, lentils. These are your heavy hitters. Just 1 cup of cooked lentils provides approximately 15 grams of fibre. That is half your daily requirement in a single food. I recommend eating beans at least 4 times per week, ideally daily. If you aren't used to them, start slowly, half a cup 3 times a week, to avoid digestive discomfort, but make them a non-negotiable part of your strategy. The second component of the system is maize syrup polyphenols. This is the synergy mechanism that fuels akkermansia. In the clinic, I've seen groundbreaking research showing that consuming 8 ounces of pomegranate juice daily can increase akkermansia levels 6-fold within just 3 weeks. If you are receiving immunotherapy, this could literally be the difference between the treatment working or failing. I recommend 4 to 8 ounces of pure pomegranate juice, no added sugar, daily, or half a fresh pomegranate. But this is the mistake I see 90% of my patients making. They focus only on the anti-cancer foods and ignore the SAP foundation layer. Timing matters just as much as dosage. Your gut bacteria and immune system are most active at night while you sleep, when they aren't competing with active digestion. I tell my patients, do not eat large meals within 3 hours of bedtime. This creates an immune blackout, where your natural killer cells can't perform their security patrol because all available energy is diverted to digesting that late-night snack. Instead, consume your fibre-rich foods and polyphenols earlier in the day. The protocol for targeted defence includes the tumour starver, 3 cups of your green tea. Daily, you must steep it for 3 to 5 minutes at 175 degrees, steaming, not boiling. And here is the insider trick. Add lemon. The vitamin C stabilises the Carcinogen, increasing its anti-angiogenic absorption. 6-fold CS. The DNA power wash. 1 to 4 cup of bish broccoli sprouts. 3 times per week. These 3-day-old seedlings contain 100 times. The concentration of sulforaphane, the phase 2 detoxification activator found in mature broccoli. If you cannot find sprouts, lightly steam regular broccoli stems for 3 to 4 minutes. Never boil them. The lycopene synergy. 3 servings of cooked tomatoes. Weekly. Lycopene is fat-soluble and locked in the cell walls of the raw fruit. Cook it into a sauce or paste, and mummus, add extra virgin olive oil. To increase absorption 3-fold. Consistency beats intensity. Eating a cup of blueberries once a week won't transform your gut microbiome, but half a cup 6 days a week will. Your body has redundant defense systems, but they require consistent specific fuel. The most dangerous myth is that you are a victim of your genetics. Stage 4 colon cancer is not necessarily a death sentence. The patients I see who achieve remission or prevent disease aren't genetically superior. They are simply consistent. Your immune system can recognize and destroy cancer cells if you give it the elite rations it needs. Don't try to overhaul your life overnight. Start tomorrow with one change. Add half a cup of beans to your lunch. Do that for 2 weeks, then add the green tea. Sustainable change happens slowly. If this investigative clinician approach to medicine is useful to you, please subscribe and give this video a like. My mission is to translate the breakthrough science that conventional healthcare doesn't have time to explain. In our next video, I'm going to tackle the metabolic myth surrounding dairy and show you the specific type of yogurt that might actually be driving systemic inflammation. I want to know, which part of this colon cancer protocol surprised you the most? Leave a comment below. I read them to decide which study we investigate next. Keep investigating, and I'll see you in the next